Hello and welcome to today's walkthrough. My name is Christina and I will show you HubDrive's module for staff administration and automation today. Let's first have a look at today's agenda. First, I would like to give you an overview of how easy employee data maintenance works inside our HR solution. You can easily add and maintain employee files, you can track self-service data changes from the system, and more. Next, I would like to give you an overview of leave management. You can manage leave entitlements, leave requests, sick leaves, and much more inside the HR solution. The third step that we will take is to look at how to manage employment terms and employment term templates inside the solution. You can create templates which will allow you to easily and quickly create employment terms later on based on the templates that include leave entitlements, wages, work hours, and all of the other factors that frame how your employees work for you. Next, we look at position planning and how you can use the HR solution to create and assign positions to employees, add successors for various positions, and so on. The next chapter will be managing of HR requests. You can also use the HR solution to receive and handle HR requests directly inside the solution. And as a last step, we will look at how to create work certificates quickly in the solution, which is a common way in German-speaking countries to uh, give recommendations from your employees if they leave and start to work for another company. So let's get started. Let me first show you how to maintain your employees' data. You can easily add and maintain employee files in the solution. You can also allow your employees to use self-service, and you can track the data changes they made with self-service inside the solution as well. That is very practical if something changes for the employee. For example, they move to a different address or they change their bank data or anything like that. You do not have to make these changes. You can simply allow your employees to enter their new address or new bank account themselves, and the system will notify you about any changes the employees made via self-service. For a more detailed walkthrough regarding the digital personnel file, which is the core of data maintenance for your employees, please check out the walkthrough digital personnel file and documents. This will take you step by step through all of the tabs of the digital personnel file. Today we will just look at what this file looks like and how you can track changes. So this is what the HR solution looks like from the inside. You can see that I am in the area HR Hub, which is the area where you as HR manager will do all of your daily business. This recruiting interactive dashboard is the first view that opens when you open the HR solution in Standard. If you would like to know more about that, feel free to watch our walkthrough recruiting and onboarding. For now, I will go down in the menu on the left-hand side and open the employees. This is where all of the digital personnel files of all of your employees are stored. Feel free to watch the walkthrough employee digital personnel file and documents if you would like to get a more detailed overview of how to work with this, what the areas are about, and so on. For now, I would just like to show you one file from the inside quickly and show you how to see data changes. So for example, we have here an employee, and as HR manager, you can see their digital personnel file, which includes all of the information. And you can also see the way a supervisor would see their file, and you can see their self-service file. The employee themselves only have access to their own self-service file. Most of the information is locked for them. They can see what is entered there, but they cannot edit it. But inside the area private data, they can add details if they would like to. For example, they can add an emergency contact or personal contact for them. They can change their contact information, their address, or bank data. Every time any of this is changed, you will be notified as HR manager that something has been changed. Now, how do you see those changes? Luckily, that is very easy because you just go to the menu to the left and click on Data Changes. And inside this list, you will see all data changes that were made. So for example, for the employee I just showed you, there were a number of different information added. You can see it was added new because the former value is mostly empty. And all of these changes are available to you immediately. You can see that, and you can also go there. For example, if you would like to check up on their new bank information, you can just click and go to the record, and they can see the data change immediately and also go to the file again. So that is how easily you can track data changes inside the system. Now that you have seen the digital personnel file and how to do changes and track changes that your employees do in self-service, let's have a look at leave management and how that works inside the HR solution. This is a broad overview, only giving you an idea of the most common processes. For more details, please check our walkthrough for leave and absence. That will take you in detail through all of the possibilities. Right now, we will just see how you can manage leave entitlements inside the solution, how your employees can create leave requests that you can then approve, how to enter sick leaves, and more. Now, there's a number of things you can do with leave entitlements and leave requests inside the solution. Let's maybe first just look at leave requests as a standard functionality. In the left side menu, I will go to leave requests under leave and absence. And there you have a list of all of the open leave requests inside of your company. Let's just say you want to create a new leave request for an employee. You can see right now that you are in the HR manager form, which means you as HR manager enter the leave for the employee. It looks very similar in the employee self-service file, except that they cannot choose which employee the leave is for. They can only request it for themselves, and they can also not change the absence type. They can only request vacation, for example. Let me add a user here. And let's just say she would like to request vacation for some days towards the end of next week. We save this as a draft. And once it is entered, we can refresh this view and it will show the absence calendar. This is very helpful to see everyone who works inside of the same department. We can see that her colleague is out for a longer time here up top. Maybe he has parental leave or something. But the other employees are all available during that time and nobody else requested a leave. Once all of that is filled, she can just submit the leave request. And from that moment on, it is in the system. It then switches to the stage approval, and their supervisor is notified that there's a leave request which is waiting for approval. Right now, I am also able to do that decision by myself because I'm logged in as HR manager and have all of the rights. Usually you would have to switch to the supervisor's account to be able to do that. Employees cannot decide for themselves unless you let them, which is also possible to do inside the solution. You can then approve or reject the request, click on finish, and then it is inside the system. Will also be removed from their leave entitlements those 2 days, and it will show up in their Outlook calendar and so on. So all of the standard things that come with leave requests will also be done. Let me also show you what it looks like where you can see their leave entitlements. We go to the employee file again by clicking on the name. I just automatically reroute it again to the employees area and their digital personnel file. And you can check inside the tab leave and absence and see the leave requests they handed in. So that's the one we just added here. And if you go to their employment term and select the one that is currently valid, you can see that they have a yearly leave entitlement of 30 days of vacation. From the first year that they started working here, it will automatically be rolled out every year again. And that's how much leave entitlement they have for a year. Our leave and absence walkthrough will give you a more detailed overview of all of the things you can do inside of the leave and absence area. For now, we will leave it at that, just so you can see that it is really very easy to add all of the leave, all of the different absence types, whatever is needed inside of your company. In this next chapter, we have a look at employment terms and employment term templates. Now, the first and most important thing to understand is that employment terms inside the HR solution do not relate to the legal document employment term that your employees sign with you, but they include all of the framework, all of the parts that contribute to how your employee works for you. For example, employment terms include the amount of work hours an employee works for you per week, the amount of leave entitlements that they have each year, the agreed upon wages, and so on. These framework parts will usually be the same for a number of different employees across your company. For example, usually all of your full-time employees have the same amount of work hours each week, and maybe the same amount of leave entitlements, and maybe even the same wages. That is why it's so helpful to have employment term templates. You can create these templates once in the beginning to cover all of the usual framework that an employee has inside of your company. For example, you make a template for how full-time work usually looks like inside of your company. And then you can reuse this template every time you hire a new employee under those conditions. Let me show you how you can create an employment term template inside of the solution and how quickly it works to create an employment term based on this template after that. To show you the employment terms templates, we go a little bit deeper inside the HR solution. So far, we've always just moved through the menu here on the left. To go to the employment terms templates, we will change the overview drop down from here to the settings area, because the employment term templates are a basic setting that you can then reuse again and again for all of your employment terms. So here in administration, you find all of your active employment terms templates. And as you can see, the system already has a number of templates for various countries in full-time contracts. Let me just quickly create a new one to show you how this works. You enter a name. You can also connect an employment terms template to a specific job profile if you want to. For example, if you create a specific template for every job profile you have, you can also then add wages for that specific job, which is helpful if you have guidelines or specific rules how much somebody is supposed to earn in a specific position and so on. You can go very detailed to that. For now, I will just leave it as it is. Let's say we want to do a full-time contract. You can also add information here. This is just a text field for how long the terms of notice is, regularly and during probation, how long your probation period is, and so on. The entitlement start year field is important because in the first year of your employee starting, it will create and calculate a partial leave entitlement. For example, if your employee has a yearly entitlement of 30 days of leave and they only start on 1st of July, so in the second half of the year, they will get a partial entitlement of 15 days during that first year that they work for you, and then 30 from the 1st of January of the following year on. So to have this work correctly, you always select the 1st of January normally. Another option you have here is to enable work patterns, which are highly useful if you have, for example, irregular work hours for employees who only work 3 days a week or on a recurring pattern of sometimes 2 days, sometimes 3 days, or you have seasonal work and they work for 3 months and then not for the rest of the year, or anything like that. You can do that if you enable the work pattern and add their irregular work hours with this. Please watch the time and attendance walkthrough to see more of how work patterns are used. After adding all of this basic information, you simply save. And then it will give you more options. So first of all, you can already add leave entitlements. For example, if all of your full-time employees will have a specific leave entitlement, you can already add it here and you will not have to add it again inside of the specific employment term that will be based upon this template that we are creating. So for example, you can already say we have for vacation a yearly entitlement of 30 days. And if the year is over and the employee has not used all of their days, you can say, for example, you would like them to be transferred to the next period, to the next year. And this entitlement should always be treated as a new entitlement in standard. We save and close this. And then you can see inside of your employment terms template, the 30 days vacation are already added as a standard. You can also say that this template should apply to a certain country or region. In this case, we called it UK, so let's just say we would like to have it for the United Kingdom. And if I move myself, I can click on Add down here, move myself back, and it is already there. You can also add a time account configuration template inside of the employment terms template. This is useful if you would like to use time accounts. Time accounts are a helpful functionality, for example, if you would like to count the overtime your employees have in a certain account, time bucket account thing that just counts all of the overtime of your employees, and where it can also be taken out again, for example, to have leave requests based upon that overtime or stuff like that. For more details on the time accounts, please also go to the time and attendance walkthrough. Once all of this is filled, we go to the tab working hours in this case. It is called working hours because we did not enable the work patterns, so we just have regular working hours every week. And there you can just add the amount of agreed upon working hours on every single day. We have a regular full-time template here. So let me just put 8 hours for every day during the week. And once I have saved, you can see that the weekly working hours are automatically calculated from the specific days. When everything is filled the way you want it to, you can save and close the template. And there you go. You have your full-time template with all of the working hours and everything already added. And you can use this now to create employment term contracts for your specific employees. To do that, let's go back to the overview and open an employee. For the sake of simplicity, let me just open an existing employee. And let's just say we would like to change their employment term to a different one with a different template. You can see they already have a valid employment term here. And if we open this, you can use the button down here to replace their active employment terms with a new employment term. You have to add a few things here. For example, you choose the template for the new employment term. We can take the one that we just created. You can select if it's a permanent or limited new contract and when that follow-up contract is supposed to start. After clicking on next, it takes a few seconds because in the background it is creating all of the data based on your template. And then it gives you this message that the follow-up term is ready for final updates. I go to that by clicking on the link. And there you can see you already have inside of this all of the data that we added inside of the template. It is full time. It has the payroll period that we already said. It has the probation period that we put in the template. And it has already calculated leave entitlements for the year that it is starting in. Partial leave entitlements because it's not starting in January, it's starting in March. And then follow up leave entitlements from the year after it. And that is already calculated and added also based upon the leave entitlement that we found in the template. It currently has the same wages she had in her old contract. You could also change that, for example, if you want to give her more money with the new contract, you can just open the wages that she currently has in there. And say that her bonus is now $3,500 instead. And there you go. That is how easy it is to create a new employment term based on a template. Once everything is added and everything is agreed upon, you can switch the status reason from draft to valid. And once it is valid, this employment term will be used as a basis to calculate all of the things related to your employees the vacation leave entitlements will be used, the bonus and salary will be used to create payments, and so on and so forth. Let us next have a look at position planning. Inside the HR solution, it is very easy to create positions for all of the positions your company has and assign them to employees. This gives you a good overview of who works in which job, and you can, of course, use this for position planning. You can add successors to every position and see how high the risk is for somebody to leave the company, and visualize how good your backup plan is in case somebody does leave. Let me show you this inside the solution quickly. Inside the HR solution, the positions are also in the left-hand side menu under Administration. If you open all of the positions here, you can see that there is already an extensive list for this company with all of the positions that are filled there, which employee is currently having that position, and in which department they are based. Let me just open one of them to give you a more detailed overview of how you can use these. But first, let me show you a very interesting thing. So you can fill a parent position for every active position that you have, and thus create a tree structure. And you can also use this hierarchy symbol to show that tree structure. So for example, if we click on that, starting from the CEO, you can see this is the top position, and there are different positions directly below this. And by clicking on the sub parts, you can also go down further inside of this tree and look at all of the different stuff. Or you can also use this menu on the left-hand side to navigate to a specific position if you would like to. This gives you a good overview of all of the different positions inside of your company that is visually a bit easier to navigate than the list. But going back to the positions list and opening one, I can show you how to use this to add successors. So if you open this position, you can see there are a lot of details in there. You can see details regarding the position, a start date, a possible end date if it is a limited one, what budget is planned for this position, who it is currently assigned to, and so on. If you go to the tab Successors, there's currently nothing in there because I wanted to show you how easy it is to add a new successor. If you have somebody in mind, you just click on New Successor, and then you just add the employee you would like to add here. And you can already rate that new employee based on their performance, their potential, and how high their current exit risk is. Once you save and close, this employee is immediately added as a possible successor for that position. And it also shows you what you just added as a rating in this graph below. Now this graph is more interesting if you add more than one successor, because you can add as many possible successors as you want. And then you can compare them to each other. So it gives you a very quick graphical overview of how well employees may fit based on various different factors. And you can then decide who to give it to in case the current holder of that position were to decide to quit. You can see who is available as a successor and who you would like to take the job. Next, I would like to show you the HR request functionality. That is a very practical thing to have employees hand in requests directly to your HR staff in case they need anything. HR requests can, for example, be handed in if an employee would like to request a certain work certificate or other documentation, or access to their file, or information about a specific training they are supposed to take, or whatever else you can think of. They can directly hand in their request via the HR solution, and then the HR manager will be notified that there is a new request, and they can handle it also directly in the system. Let me show you how it works. So for this part, we start as an employee for a change. As you can see, the starting dashboard looks a bit different for an employee than it does for an HR manager. The employee in standard starts in the employee cockpit, which allows them access to all of the important parts at first glance. So for an employee, one important thing that I would like to show you now is the HR request functionality. To do so, they can just click on Create New HR Request, and that takes us immediately to a form where they can fill in their request. For example, they can add a subject of what they want. Add a due date for when they would like to receive their request. And they can also add details. Once that is done, the request is saved, which unlocks the timeline where they can also add attachments, for example, documents as necessary. For us right now, none of this is necessary, so we save and close. And if the employee goes to the My HR Request area on the side, they can also see their open report and see that it is still open. Let me now switch to the HR Manager view. As HR Manager, you start in the recruiting dashboard. And if you are notified via email that you got a new HR request, you can simply go to your HR requests area, to the active HR requests, and there you can see the new interim report that was requested by this employee that we just did. The HR manager can open all of this, see the message attached, see the due date, and for example, can now use the timeline to attach a document with the requested interim report. Once everything is uploaded, they can set the HR request to completed. Which sets the status to inactive. And it will no longer show up in the list of to-dos of the active HR requests. You can still find it if you go to inactive HR requests. It will still be there in case you need to do something else that you forgot or you want to look it up, but it will no longer be in your active to-do list of things. Going back to the employee view, if we refresh this, the employee can now see the status has changed to completed. They can still open this, and if we had attached a document, it would also be available in the timeline for the employee to open, download, and whatever they want to do. So that's the HR request functionality, and that is very practical. As a last part of this walkthrough, I would like to show you the work certificates functionality. Now, depending on where in the world you are watching this from, you may wonder what a work certificate is because it is not common everywhere in the world. Let me first take a second to explain to you what this is, just in case you don't know. A work certificate is something that is very common in German-speaking countries in Europe, where HubDrive is based. And here it is very common if an employee stops working for a company and is looking to work somewhere else, that their old employer gives them a so-called work certificate. That is like a letter of certification that uh, says, yes, this person worked for us for a certain amount of time in this and that position, had this and that tasks, and how well they did their job, basically. Other countries may work more with referrals or stuff like that, but in our countries, it is very common for employees, if they apply to a job somewhere, to also hand in work certificates with their application that they got from previous jobs. Now, writing work certificates can be quite a hassle for the employer, because it has to follow a certain structure, the wording has to be in a specific way. It takes a lot of time and effort usually to write out the work certificates one by one, individual to each specific employee, especially if you are a larger company and have a lot of turnover maybe. Now, what our solution offers is that you can create a Word template for your work certificates, and that template can be used to then create work certificates quickly with just a few clicks. There's already a standard set of text boxes inside the HR solution. And if you look at a work certificate inside the solution, you can give out certain ratings for how well your employee worked for you in different areas. For example, you give a rating for their social abilities, a rating for their professional abilities, a rating for how much on time and punctual and formal they were, and so on and so forth. And from these ratings, the system will automatically take the text boxes it already has inside and give you, based on the Word template, a full document that is created in just a few clicks. And then you have a work certificate for your employee. That saves you a huge amount of time compared to sitting down every single time and write a work certificate for each and every employee who requests one. Let me show you this inside the solution to make more clear how quickly and easily it really works. After you have initially set up a Word template for your work certificates, it is very easy to use them. Let me just show you how it works. In the left side menu, you go down to the administration area and click on Work Certificates. Here, you create the record inside the solution that will be the basis for your Word document. We create a new one for an employee. And after just adding the name, you can already save. And you will see from the employee file, it is already taking a lot of information. Depending on what exactly is already saved in their file, that will be more or less. For example, we can still add a job title here if we want. And or add a job profile as well. What you need to add as well, or what is recommended to add as well, is what kind of certificate you want to add, what's the reason for issuing it, and on what date it is supposed to be issued. After saving again, you will see that there's already things added in the different tabs. For example, in the introduction, you can already find an opening with their name, birth date, and from when on they were inside of your company. If you have configured it that way, it would also show tasks and it would show your specific custom company description once it is customized. So all of this will just then be taken into the document. Next, you need to issue a work certificate rating inside of the different areas. So you rate the employee based on their expertise, motivation, and other factors. Let me just quickly go through this. Let's say their working quality, workload endurance, everything was good overall. You can also add them on leadership if it's a manager who is going to leave. You can add an exit reason if you want to, a farewell phrase, and additional remarks. Once you save that again, you can see the text is entered for all of the areas you filled a rating for that is already according to your rating. So this rating as very good already has a text that reflects that she had very good expertise in her field, which she used to work in a good way. Once you are done and filled everything the way you want to, you can just use a Word template drop down to use and click on this, and you will get a Word document that has all of the text and all of the information added here in one complete document that you only need to print out and hand to your employee. This work took maybe 5 minutes, maybe less, and then you already have a complete work certificate. So this saves you a lot of time compared to sitting it down and writing it from beginning to end. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching this walkthrough on staff administration and automation. I hope it helped you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in another walkthrough. Bye for now.